Hey guys, welcome back to A&J Education YouTube channel. If you're thinking of studying at one of the UK, Canadian, US universities, you probably have heard of IELTS, TOEFL, Duolingo. You've heard of these words mentioned, thrown around. But if you're confused which one to take, what they are, why do you need them, how to prepare, keep watching this video. All right, guys, so without further ado, we are joined today by Joe, my colleague Joe. Thank you for joining.
Hello, nice to be here.
Good to see you again.
Yes.
So Joe is extremely experienced and has more than 20 years of experience of teaching English, IELTS, TOEFL, and all sorts of English exams to our students elsewhere. And there is no better person to ask about this. So Joe, why, what's the difference between the IELTS, TOEFL, Duolingo, there are a few other exams, like what's going on?
So the difference between IELTS and TOEFL and IELTS is very little difference in the components. You're testing the 4 components separately, which is reading, writing, listening and speaking. Very similar length in their in each component. So you do one paper and then the next and then the next. Both papers can be taken on the computer or paper-based. The other thing that can happen is that you can do a home-based with TOEFL with what's called a human proctor that sits in and watches how you do it to make sure you're not cheating. The Duolingo exam, on the other hand, tests all the 4 skills in 1 hour.
Okay.
And it's all online. It's very time-based, so you have like a countdown clock of 30 seconds to do your answer, which kind of puts a lot of pressure on what you're doing. But it is 1 hour. The other difference is price. So for the IELTS exam, you're looking for 175 to 195, 165 pounds, 165 for TOEFL, and 50 for Duolingo. Now, yes, so price means everything. So Duolingo, you have got LSC, the London School of Economics. Yes, you can get into that one. You can get into Loughborough and Warwick, which are in the top 20 of the universities. TOEFL, on the other hand, you can get into most universities with this exam and the Ivy Leagues. IELTS, you can get into all of them. Anywhere, basically anywhere. I think it's IELTS and TOEFL are recognised in nearly all the institutions in the United States as well.
That's right.
Yes.
So, guys, just a point from me. It depends on, different people do differently on different tests, right? But I would definitely first investigate, based on your list of universities, you go to each ones and you see the requirements, right? And maybe if you're just applying to America and most of them accept Duolingo, and just, let's say 10 of the universities you're applying need Duolingo, one of them needs IELTS, maybe you'll think, okay, you know what? I don't want to spend an extra 50 hours doing this IELTS prep. I'll just cut this university from my list, focus on Duolingo, which is cheaper and easier, and you can just take it home. You don't need to travel anywhere, and apply with that and use that time to beef up my resume, improve my essays, etc. However, it may be a different story if maybe you have 5 unis that need IELTS, others need IELTS and TOEFL, so then it's a strategic decision, okay, let's just do IELTS, that works everywhere. But again, that's something you need to investigate and just have a simple spreadsheet for the requirements, for the exams that you need. But generally speaking, if you're applying to UK and the US or Canada with IELTS, you cannot go wrong. However, do check, there are certain technicalities, like if you need a UK visa, some universities require you to get IELTS for academic for UKVI, which is basically a bit of a scam because the exam is the same.
Exactly. Actually, it's less.
Really?
They should, because it's IELTS skills for life. So it's actually less the score. So really, if you have a score of 6.5 in IELTS, it should be accepted for the visa. But often you have to take the IELTS skill for life separately because it's a different paper.
Yeah. And it's just a money-making machine for the exam organisers. So do make sure that you sit the right type of IELTS or the right type of TOEFL, that you do. Some exams like TOEFL, there is a TOEFL IBT, the home edition, right?
Yes,
it's a bit like Duolingo.
It's internet-based tests can be taken in a test centre, or it can be taken as home base. As I said, you have a human proctor that's watching you through your camera to make sure that you're not cheating. This happens the same with the Duolingo test. They have a human proctor watching you. But the IELTS is always done in a test centre. The other thing that I'd like to point out is the speaking part. Usually the speaking part of the other two tests is done just with you and the computer, which can sometimes feel a little bit impersonal. The IELTS speaking test is done with an interlocutor, and they speak to you, and it feels more like a natural conversation. You tend to thrive better in that situation. Yes, I think my biggest advice here was just choose one by doing a practice test of each of them. Find out which one your university accepts. If it accepts Duolingo, then I would go for that. I would definitely go for that exam. If it doesn't, then go for one of the other two. But do not think, I'll do one of this and one of that. Just stick to one and really train hard, especially for the writing part.
No, makes sense. Jo, just as we're rounding up this video, what would your advice be to people who are trying to find an instructor, a tutor, a course? How basically to avoid scams, because everyone is claiming to be an English teacher and teaching IELTS, Duolingo, TOEFL. How do you find an instructor that's actually legit?
I think I would go to recognised institutions like yourself who know the tutors and have had results, so you can recommend. I also think that there are so many tutor websites, but if you do manage to choose one, make sure it's a recognised one, and then look at recommendations from the actual students themselves. They're the ones that are going to tell you if your tutor has done well with them. You can probably generate not that I have, but you can generate about 10 false reviews, but you can't do more than that. Your students are going to review you properly, and they're going to say what they think of you, whether that be good or bad. In my case, so far, so good. But yes, look up your recommendations, the reviews on the tutor, to make sure they know what they're doing, because a lot of people can get into teaching English as a foreign language and not really know.
No, not really. And there is a big difference being able to speak English and being able to teach you to pass the exam. So I think my English is okay. I can speak English more or less, but I could never teach this because I don't know what I'm doing, and you really need to know what you're doing. Jo, final top 3 tips from you on how to smash the exam out of the park, be it IELTS, TOEFL, or Duolingo?
I think the thing is to find yourself a good tutor. I would do one-on-one. I wouldn't go through big classrooms because you don't get the individual tuition that you really need. Writing, concentrate on writing, do your research, read up on the writing, and practice, practice, practice. Do not think that you can just go to a tutor and they will fix it. Practice makes perfect. In this situation, it is imperative.
Makes perfect sense. Great. Well, guys, please join me in thanking Jo. Jo, this was very, very useful. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best, guys. If you haven't already, do sign up to my newsletter. The link is below. I send out an email every 3 weeks where my colleagues and I put together some of the best tips and advice on university admissions, as well as information on unique CV building events that you can do for free online to beef up your resume. So do check it out. Please, if you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe to our channel. We put a lot of energy into this, a lot of effort, the whole team here in front of you and behind the scenes. So it would mean a lot to us because it means we can spread the word more. So thank you for that. Take care and good luck in your exams.